Hi everyone, this is a video to remind you of what a right angle is, and later on I'm going to talk about acute angles, obtuse angles and reflex angles. So here we have a right angle. You might remember this from primary 4, and a right angle is shaped like an L. A right angle is always 90 degrees. A right angle is often labelled with a small square. If you think you might be doing the right angle task today, which is our one chili task, then you might want to make yourself a right angle checker, and you could use this to measure angles to find out if they're right angles or not. Okay, so here we have an angle. Do you think it's a right angle or not? How could you find out? You could get your right angle checker and fit it into the space to find out if it matches up perfectly with no gaps, and if it does, then it would be a right angle. So I don't have a right angle checker, but I do have a post-it note that I'm going to use to help me to find out if my angle is a right angle or not. I'm going to move my paper and my post-it note, my right angle checker, to see if they fit, and yes they do, it's a right angle. Okay, so our first angle was a right angle. What about the second angle? So I've put my right angle checker in the corner of the angle and I can see that it doesn't match up. My right angle checker is too big, so the angle can't be a right angle because it's smaller than a right angle. What about this third angle? Pause the video and have a think. So I moved my paper and I got my right angle checker and matched them up, and I can see that there's a big gap. So my right angle checker is smaller, so the angle must be bigger than a right angle, and it's not a right angle. What about this fourth angle? Do you think it's a right angle? Pause the video and have a think. So I got my right angle checker and I moved my paper and I matched them up, and yay, there's no gaps. So yes, it is a right angle. How many right angles do you think this rectangle has? Pause the video and have a think. And the answer is 4, 1 in each corner. How many right angles does this triangle have? Pause the video and have a think. The answer is only 1. How many right angles do you think this triangle has? Pause the video and have a think. The answer is 0. And how many right angles do you think this hexagon has? Pause the video and have a think. The answer is 0. Every angle is too large to be a right angle. Okay, so that was the teaching for our one chili task today, which is all about right angles. Now you can go ahead and do the task. If you found the teaching on right angles easy, then that means you're ready to find out about other types of angles and how to describe them. So, we know a right angle is 90 degrees. and degrees is shown through this symbol here. It's like a tiny little circle in the top right corner. Okay, so we've got an example of a right angle here, an L shape with a box in the corner, 90 degrees. This one over here, even though it looks a bit squint, it's still a right angle and it's still 90 degrees. You will have seen angles before that are quite small, so smaller than a right angle, so less than 90 degrees. So maybe something like 20 degrees, 40 degrees, 75 degrees. They're all less than 90 degrees, and they are called acute angles. And you might want to remind yourself of their name by thinking of a small acute angle, acute angle. You will also have seen bigger angles, so angles that are bigger than a right angle, but not going past a straight line. So as you can see here, we've got an example of an angle that's 110 degrees. So it goes all the way around to 90 and round to about here to 110. This one here is 170, so it goes all the way around to 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170. That's very big. And we call these angles that are between 90 and 180, we call them obtuse angles, obtuse. If you look at the teaching slides for today, you'll see this link to a funny video all about acute, obtuse and right angles. So the angles we learned about are called acute, right and obtuse. What kind of angle is this? Do you think it's a right angle, an acute angle or an obtuse angle? The answer is acute. I never even got my right angle checker because I could see just by looking at it that it was definitely smaller than 90 degrees. Okay, let's try the next one. What kind of angle do you think this angle is? A right angle, an acute angle, or an obtuse angle? It looks quite close to a right angle, but I'm not completely sure, so I'm going to get my right angle checker. I've moved my paper to match up with my right angle checker and there's no gaps, so yes, it's a right angle. What about this angle here? Do you think it's a right angle, an acute angle, or an obtuse angle? The answer is obtuse. I never even got my right angle checker because I could see by looking at it that it's definitely much bigger than 90 degrees. What kind of angle is this angle? Is it a right angle, an acute angle, or an obtuse angle? By looking at it, I think it could maybe be a right angle. I'm not sure, so I'm going to use my right angle checker to find out. Okay, so I moved my paper to match up with my right angle checker and I put my right angle checker right in the corner, and actually my right angle checker is bigger, so it means the angle is smaller than 90 degrees and therefore the angle is an acute angle. If you feel like this learning is the right level for you, you can go ahead now and try the 2 chili task for today. If you feel like you're very confident with acute angles, right angles and obtuse angles, then you're ready to try the 3 chili learning for today. So here's a useful way to remember the names of each type of angle. So you could think about it as a family of angles. And the mum of the family is always right, so she's Mrs. Right Angle. Her favourite shape is a square, and she's always right. Her husband is called Mr. Obtuse. He's bigger than her. and he always measures between 90 degrees and 180 degrees, depending on how much dinner he's eaten. And the baby of the family is called acute. Isn't he cute? He loves a hug. He always has his arms out for cuddles. He's the smallest of the family and he measures less than 90 degrees. And the family have a pet dog called Reflex. So Reflex is the biggest angle out of all of the angles. And that's because he has a pointy nose and his angle is all on the outside of that. So it's almost like a big ball. And he has an angle that is bigger than 180. So 180 is a straight line. His angle is always bigger than that, and it can even go all the way round to create a full circle, a full turn, which would be 360 degrees. So Reflex is the biggest angle, and think about it as the angle on the outside of the pointy nose. Okay, so you've met all the family. So who am I? I always measure less than 90 degrees. I'm the smallest angle and I'm very cute. Have a think. Who do you think it is? The answer is acute. Okay, next one. Who am I? I'm always outside. I'm the biggest angle and I can measure between 180 and 360 degrees. Who do you think I am? I'm reflex angle. Who am I? I always measure between 90 and 180 degrees. I'm always inside. I'm bigger than right and acute. The answer is obtuse angle. And who's left? It's Mrs. Right angle. She's always right. Okay, so here we have an angle. Do you think it is acute, obtuse, reflex, or right? The answer is acute. Do you think this angle is acute, obtuse, reflex, or right? The answer is right. Do you think this angle is acute, obtuse, reflex, or right? The answer is obtuse. Do you think this angle is acute, obtuse, reflex, or right? The answer is reflex. The reason the answer is reflex for this one is because it's talking about the angle here, and I know that a straight line, if this line was to continue, a straight line would go like that. So this angle is larger than 180 degrees, so it's a reflex angle. Is this angle acute, obtuse, reflex, or right? The answer is acute. Is this angle acute, obtuse, reflex, or right? The answer is right. Is this angle acute, obtuse, reflex, or right? The answer is obtuse. And finally, is this angle acute, obtuse, reflex, or right? The answer is reflex. And I know that because the question mark was on this side, so it's talking about this side, which is definitely bigger than 180 degrees, and therefore it's a reflex angle. Okay, so now you are ready to begin today's task. Hopefully this video was helpful. Thanks everybody, bye!